was saying, this is the election. Today is the day we're going to have our elections. We had 5 positions available: president, vice president, 2 officer positions, and a secretary position. We actually have no contenders for any of the positions, but all the people to this date who said that they wanted to run, which was the deadline was today, said they were going to run, are running, and we had exactly 5 positions. Just to make sure no one here wants to run, right? That hasn't already communicated that. Okay, yeah, so then I'm just gonna introduce next year's team. So to start with, Michael Pavin, he's not actually here. He's gonna be the secretary. He is working at Nielsen this summer as a software engineering intern. He actually has a bunch of positions that he's held before. He couldn't be here because he's doing a co-op right now, but he's been in communication with me all semester about running for next year's positions. So yeah, that's Michael Pavin. There's no need to clap or anything like that. So Alexander Lewitt, this guy right here in the front, he also is going to be an officer. You can, I guess, stand up and say hi or whatever. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. So Alex actually just had some good news today, this week. He's going to be doing Extreme Blue with IBM in Austin, Texas. So that's pretty cool. Who's next? And then Max, I'm not going to say your last name, so you can just say it.
Max Frisanki.
Frisanki. Okay, yeah. So Max is going to be an officer as well. That's his information. You guys can ask him questions afterwards if you have anything. He's going to be an officer. And then for our vice president, it's going to be Bradley and Troy Hertz.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, so, and actually, one of my roommates in Austin, his interest, let's go back and read the interesting facts, actually, because I meant to do this. I used to play in a hardcore metal band.
You have to do the hand thing.
I used to pole vault and run the 100-meter in high school. No, you didn't.
Yes,
Yeah.
you did.
That's crazy. No, you never told me that. Max, I love to work on personal. Oh, come on, Max.
Mine's cheesy too.
And then, yeah, this guy. What do they call it when you like get in something because you know somebody else or something?
Oh, no, yeah. What is that?
Nepotism.
Yeah. Nepotism.
And then our president's going to be Sergio Polari. He's an officer now currently. He's had a lot of experience helping running the club and doing a lot of stuff. So this is him.
I need to upgrade the
You
picture.
need a new one. Yeah, you've had this one for like 2 years now. So. Okay, so yeah, you're here because of the Soccer.io tutorial. We need a group picture of the officer, so I could have like gone. This is our officer
I
team.
think you spelled tutorial wrong.
I didn't make this, by the way. I don't even know how to edit this crap. No, it wasn't me.
I don't think it matters.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, just make sure you go there, download it. I'll give you like 2 more minutes to get more pizza and to download that, and then we're gonna go ahead and start screen. All right, so we're going to be using Node.js. In order to use Socket.io to build a chat server, you're going to need to use Node.js to run the server-side code. All the code is going to run in the server side, and then the client's going to grab that code, and it's going to use the client-side functionality that we program on the website. I gave you guys all an HTML file, which I actually didn't download while I was... Somebody want to read the link out to me?
Go to the next.
/.
Other way.
So yeah, I'm just gonna clone the Socket.io tutorial. Did I spell tutorial right there? Tutorial. I did. Yeah.
No.
So wait, the little one. This one.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't spell that other tutorial. Oh, now I forgot what I was. Socket.io tutorial. Oh yeah. By the way, that's how you get the file.
No, yeah.
So I'm gonna need to make this screen bigger.
Command plus to work. And you can just maximize the window.
Is it the green?
Just like drag it up. Okay, that works too. That makes it full screen, which I don't really like.
Yeah, I don't like that either. Can you guys all see the screen pretty well? Yeah. So yeah, this is the HTML file that you guys got. We're not really going to worry about too much what it's doing. I'm going to run through really fast what it is, and then we're going to put it away, and then we're going to come back to it in a little bit. So right now I'm just declaring an HTML file. It has two main containers. It has a container on the side. So in a chat room, right, we have the rooms and we have the chat itself. So the rooms that we can join, and sometimes they usually have the list of the users in the room. We're not going to do that. That code is identical to getting the rooms. You just need to duplicate it for the users. We'll go over that at that time. But you have two windows usually in a chat room. You have your rooms and you have the actual chat that's happening and going on in the center. That's what this is right here. And then these are input boxes. One's a button and one is a text field, so we can enter our message. So it's really plain, really simple, not over the top. Like I said, it's pretty ugly when we open it up. It's quite ugly. How do I open this?
In what? What are you trying to do?
I won't worry. I'll open it once I get the server running. It's easier that way. All I'm going to do is I need to start with Node.js. So if you install Node.js correctly, you should be able to type npm init, and it's going to fill in some basic details. I wish I could make this window bigger.
You can. You can just drag it.
Command plus.
Yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, npm init is going to initialize the folder or the file to be or the folder to be a Node project, and we're just going to name it here, chat tutorial. See, I know how to spell tutorial. You can't use caps or spaces, I don't think, so it needs to be URL friendly. And then I don't really care about the rest of the details, so I usually just I want to call my entry point chat.js. So it's just asking what the main JS file is going to be. I'm going to name it chat.js. The default app.js. You just need to make sure you pay attention to that when we run the program. No test command, no repository, no keywords, no author, no license. And is this okay? Yes. Okay, so if we go back to our project structure here, it should have refreshed with an app.js, which is here, and a package. Why did it initialize an app.js? Did you add this stuff here?
I had one file. Yeah, I had one app.js.
Okay, that's fine. I'll get rid of them. So I'm just going to create in that folder, or on the. Is this folder on the outside or the inside?
It's inside.
We need to go up one level. When I created the.
You can open Finder if you want.
Here, I don't know how to do that in Mac.
Here, just go in here. Open.
Cool. Learn to use a Mac while I'm giving a tutorial. Cool. Okay, so I'm just going to put that JSON inside with the index. I want them together, and then I'm just going to change directory into that directory. And I just need to create a chat.js file. So that's there now. If I go into here, I can open that up. It's empty. We need a few things. So with Node.js is just a really simple engine that allows JavaScript to run outside of the browser. It uses some sort of engine built by Google a while back, V8, I think, yeah, V8. And in order to make, we can make things all day on our side run, and we can run cool code on our side, but in order to make it available to the client, we need to use what's called routes. We need to use a package that comes into Node called Express. So we need to install that package. So again, in our command line, we're going to do that. We're going to do npm install express, and we're going to do -- save. This is going to append our package.json file with it, so make sure you don't forget that. So -- save. So npm install express -- save. And like I said, so this is going to bring in that package to our project. And if we were to say get rid of all of the packages and we just kept our package.json and I pushed that to GitHub and somebody pulled it down later and they did npm install, it would install all of the packages that were saved in package.json for you. So it's kind of like an organizer for your project. It keeps it real minimal. And then, of course, we're going to need socket.io because we're actually going to be using socket.io. So socket.io. Make sure and if you don't make sure you don't forget the dot. If you do, you're going to pull down somebody's project. Some jerk named their project socket.io and it doesn't work. So
Really?
yeah, I don't know what that was, but socket.io actually gets the socket.io library, and we're going to bring that right into our project. And I think that's it for command stuff for now. So now we have both. If we go into our package really quickly, I can show you. We now have dependencies express and sock.io listed here. So now we just need to use them. So this is kind of like basic stuff that happens in all Node Express projects. You need to initialize all of the software that you're using, all the packages, the dependencies. So we're just going to do, this is in our chat.js. I'm going to make this even bigger.
Should I like pause and ask if anyone has any questions up until like that start point?
Does anybody have any questions? Is everybody able to do the commands and stuff? Windows is sometimes weird, so I just want to make sure everyone's caught up to this point. Everybody good?
It's not running on Windows.
You're not running on Windows?
Yeah, it's stuck.
What is it?
Yeah.
I did the NPM init, and after that it's stuck.
You got stuck?
Yeah.
Did it ask you questions?
It's not asking me anything. It's just good. So it's just stuck.
Just do Control-C a couple times.
I did. It asked me to terminate batch job.
Have you used npm before on there?
No.
Did you install Node today?
Yeah.
Did you restart your computer?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Try to.
Mm-hmm. And you'll need to change directory to your project folder from there.
Make sure you're in the right directory too.
Well, you should be able to access npm from any directory. It doesn't matter.
Oh, with the init. Okay.
Yeah.
You carry on. I'll just.
Yeah. So if you're not able to completely keep up or you get stuck somewhere, all of this code is commented and will be put online tonight. Or as soon as I didn't want to push it and give it to you now to give you a reason to be here so you can go through it. But when we leave, all the code, what we built, will be online. So you guys can download it from there.
And the YouTube video.
Yeah, and the YouTube video of me talking. So basically, we need to initialize Express. So in JavaScript, you do this require thing. This is actually part of Node. Node looks for things that are required. So we're going to require an Express to be created, and then we're going to create our app. So our app is going to be a instantiation of Express. And then we're going to initialize HTTP, which is, this allows us to connect to the web, or allow us to like deliver things to the web. And yeah, so we're going to require that library. This is built in to, I want to say this is built into Node. It might be built into Express, but you get it either way if you have Express installed. So, and then we need to start this or initialize the server. And to do that, we're going to call the HTTP thing we just initialized, and we're going to do create server. And we're going to pass it our app that we created. And the one last thing we need to do, because we're using socket.io here, we need to initialize socket.io. So we're going to do io equals require socket.io. And I need to make sure I'm using strings here. And we're going to do listen. And we're going to listen through the server.
So basically these are all just like variables, and like with JavaScript you don't have to have any types. So basically what he's doing is like if you were in an object-oriented programming language, like you would just like be making like app is like new express, like that's basically what he's doing, just like getting all these instances of these libraries so he can then call their methods and use their functionality.
Mm-hmm. So the requires are similar to import in Java, and the app equals express and server equals http.create. Those are like creating new variables, basically, like you said.
Put a semicolon on the end of the HTTP.
Nope, sure didn't. Thank you. One thing so in order to get the server running, we need to actually have it start listening. My favorite port to listen on while I'm like programming is 3000. I think that's a default mean.js port. A lot of people choose like 8080 or something. You don't want to choose anything less than 1024 because those are reserved for secure connections. So you can choose anything. I'm choosing 3000. Whatever you choose, if you don't choose 3000, remember it because we're going to need it on the client side later. And then finally, to deliver our beautiful page to the browser or the client, we're going to create this function in Java, or JavaScript. So the thing about this is what they call a callback. This is basically what is happening here is this function app.get takes in a function, and the function I'm passing it in is just going to return a file that I give it, and I'm just going to return a file that's in my directory. So, and you just write this code exactly how it is, and we're going to return that index file that we wrote earlier. Normally, I keep wanting to do FN save, not command save or control save.
Command save.
Oh, is it command save?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. So just make sure I got the format here correctly. Okay, yeah. So let's go into that index.html that we wrote, and let's just write. Oh, actually, we have code in there. When I was writing this, I didn't have any code in my HTML file, so it didn't have anything. So if we just go into our console really quickly and do node chat.js, it should run. So it should just be a white or just a blank line with no errors. If you got errors, you probably wrote some bad JavaScript. And we go into Chrome or whatever. I use Chrome. And we type in localhost 3000. It should open up that chat page. It should. Oh, what does that say? File is not there. Oh, did we not deliver the file? It's returning the file.
Gave it a string.
Oh, you returned a string maybe?
Did I give it a string?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it should have been a string that I send file via string. How do I get back to that window? App.get /function return send file directory. Oh, this is identical to what I have.
Is index.html in this directory?
Yes, it's right here. Did I spell index.html correctly?
Do you need that slash before index? Or
I did. Yeah, I mean, like, so the directory's right. If you look here, this is exactly where he's. Oop. This is where he's got the directory. That's the file. I mean, it's linking to the file. It's not loading it. Interesting.
Open the console maybe?
Let's just see. So I love print statements to debug. God.
Other people's keyboards are hard.
Yeah. How do you cancel
Control C also.
Control C?
Yeah.
Okay. God, that's backwards.
the only thing that's control.
Okay.
Everything else is
Okay. Yeah, it's delivering it. That's weird. Let's see here. Okay, actually, let's use this. I have a comment here that says I can use either or, so let's just see. Cross your fingers. Oh, I need to reset the server. So something we won't go over here, but you'll want to look into this thing called Node Monitor. Sorry, Node Monitor. I want to call it Node Daemon every time I looked at it, but it's called Node Monitor. What it does is whenever you make a file change in an npm folder that you're in, it'll automatically refresh the server, so you don't have to keep closing the server and restarting it. But I'm too lazy to install that here, and I also think it might be too much trouble. Okay, there it goes. So there's our page. Command plus. Yeah. So that's our chat page. Like I told you, very basic. We're going to load rooms into here, and this is going to be our chat. All the messages are going to appear above the chat box. I'm no designer, no web page designer, so like I said, I just threw together something really quickly that we could use. This swiping between like views is an interesting concept. Okay, so so we're going to go back to the program here, and I want to talk about what we actually need here and what to think about. So Socket.io comes with some really cool things. Basically, you pass in a string command that I want to hear. So like on connection, that means that when I receive an on connection, I want to do something. So that's like the default main thing that happens when you run a Socket.io instance. So they come with you can program your own commands, and I'm gonna go over programming commands in a second. But just want to make sure I got everything that we were up to. So we need to think about what are the things that we need for a chat room. So I already made a list, so I'm just gonna go through it. If you guys think of something else, we can add it, and if we have time, we'll add that into the thing. So we need to be able to have users, right? We need to be able to track our users in our chat room. We need to be able to have different rooms. That was sort of an extra feature that I added. We need to be able to join rooms. We need to be able to leave rooms. We need to be able to switch rooms, and we need to be able to send messages, which is a chat room. That's like the main functionality, right? Sending messages back and forth. So we're going to implement all of those on the server side, and then everything that we implement on the server side, we're going to go to the client side, and we're going to write identical commands, but that are going to alter the way that our HTML page looks. So we're going to start with just the server, and it's going to be a while before we see any compilable code or anything running. So we're gonna go ahead and start with that. So, like I said, the first thing we need is we need users, right? So I'm gonna create a variable var usernames equals just an empty object array, and then we need to store rooms, and I'm gonna just create some default rooms here. So room 1, Sergio's room, John's room. And yeah, that's enough. 3's enough. No one likes too much time. So we have rooms and we have usernames. So this is pretty much, that's it. Other than socket.io, this is it. We have the two things we need to manage everything in terms of users and rooms. So socket.io is going to take care of adding and removing that, so we're just going to program that. So in order to do that, we're going to call IO. So this is the IO instance up here that we created earlier. This is the instance of socket. So anytime, this is the server-side socket that's going to be communicating with all the individual sockets everywhere. And actually, I probably should have started with this. So everybody understands the idea of what a socket is, right? So when you connect to a web page, you're going to send a connection string to the server, the web server, and it's going to return back whether or not you can maintain a ongoing connection with them. That's a socket. By being able to maintain that ongoing connection, we have a socket open between each other, and we can relay messages. We don't have to do the handshaking that's done initially when I go to a website. So when I initially go to a website, I do a handshake and I say, give me your page. Okay, I'll give you my page. Okay, let me send you the page. That's the handshake. We're getting rid of that process. We do the initial handshake, and then from there on, I trust you to send me messages back and forth. Does that make sense?
And it's like real time.
Yeah, real time. So I'm gonna create. Let me create some space down here. I don't like programming at the bottom of the text editor. So we're gonna call io.sockets, and this is all in their awful documentation. It's good that you're here getting this tutorial up front and getting dirty with it on your own, because reading through their tutorials or their documentation is kind of hard. So, and we're going to create one of those fancy callback functions again here, and I'm going to pass it the socket. So whenever the server connects, they're going to, the socket code that's going to be on the server, they're going to call this function, or on the client side, they're going to call this function, and it's going to, they're sending me them being the socket. So I will have direct access to them as a client through this variable socket. That's what this is right here. So basically, now if I were to load this page, and we can do this now. Sorry, that's Java, console.log. Switching between programming in Java and JavaScript is really difficult. User sort of connected. And I'll just show you this really quickly. We need to command save, go into the index.html. So in here, I've already created everything. I'm importing already. Oh, Jesus, this mouse is sensitive. Socket.io. So I'm importing the file from the server already. When you create a Socket.io instance, it creates an invisible file that you can't see on your end that's accessible through a route. And that route is localhost 3000/socket.io/socket.io.js. So it's just a library that we're importing here. Hopefully, if Macs work the way they're supposed to, it'll be on here. And then I'm not a Mac hater. I'm not familiar with the concept. So we're gonna create our socket here on the client side, and this is socket var socket equals io.connect. And then we're going to pass it the location of where that socket, or where we want to connect to. So, and for us, it's just localhost 3000, or localhost the port that you decided to use. And then I'm just going to go restart the server. I think I programmed it correctly. It's doubtful, but probably. So I didn't get any errors from Node. Let's go over here. So what I should see when I open up the web browser and click refresh, it should just say a user sort of connected here or whatever. So I'm going to go and refresh. I did get an error. A user sort of connected. So me just refreshing the page here, there's no visuals or anything. You can't see anything just because we haven't done anything except tell the browser that I want to connect to the server. And we've connected to the server. We're now able to send messages back and forth from the client to the server. Now we just need to program those messages and those inboxes basically. So we're gonna go back to chat.js, and in the socket, inside of the socket io.sockets.onConnection, this is where we're gonna program our commands. So the first thing I'm going to program is connect a user connecting. We want a user to log in. We don't want them just to connect to our socket and be able to do things. So they need to be able to log in. So what we're going to do is we're going to add user, and I'm on the wrong page. We're going to add user, and we're going to create a callback. So pretty much this is the sort of the flow. Whenever you create a command, you create a callback for it. Oh my God, what in the world? So basically, whenever the server receives a add user command, so this is the command. I just wrote a function here. The client's going to say add user, and the server's going to get that command, and it's going to perform whatever's in this function. Well, in order for the user to add, or in order for them to add user, I want them to pass me a Control Z.
Command Z.
Everything's command except for when you want to stop in the console.
Yes.
Control C.
If I ever got a Mac, I would reprogram all of that. Okay, so I want it to pass me a username. So this is the user logging in, and once they log in, I'm going to say the socket that I have. So this is the socket. This is the user. They've connected. They just don't have a username yet. I'm going to give them a username. So socket username equals username. Ooh, and your colors are different. And then I'm going to console.log. So this is going to be on the server side that the username has logged in. Oh, those mechanical keys. And then I'm gonna make them defaultly connect to our first room. So I don't want them to go to Sergio's room by default, and I don't want them to go to John's room by default. I want them to just be connected to, I said room one. So I'm gonna make them connect to room 1. So I'm gonna do socket.room. So this is that person, that client's room is equal to room 0. So the first room in our array of rooms. So when they initially connect, they're gonna connect to that room. There are a lot of ways you can do this. I'm doing it quick and dirty and trying to keep it as not
the array rooms.
Keep it quick and dirty and as complex as possible, because they can get pretty complex in here. And then I'm going to add the username. Yeah, so I have this variable rooms here. We have a question? I can answer it.
Where are you doing like the dot room? Socket has an attribute of room, or are you adding?
So in Java you're allowed to, or JavaScript. In JavaScript you're allowed to just like sort of willy-nilly create variables on the fly, and that's what I'm doing here. So socket, basically, it's a structure that socket.io created for me that represents every client. I'm taking advantage of that, and I'm adding new attributes to it, and those attributes are username and room. So whenever I receive a socket, this way I don't have to do reverse lookup. When I get a socket, I need to go and find out what user it is. I automatically have the user and I automatically know what room they're connected to. So that sort of makes sense. When they come in, they're going to come in as socket. If I didn't do this, I would have to go and look them up. What's up?
So is the socket something that's unique for each connection that's made to the server?
Yes, the socket is completely unique. It has a unique ID. What's up?
Can you scroll to the top a little bit?
Sure. How do you make this full screen, actually?
You can like
drag it to the
bump
top.
it to the top like you do in Windows.
Also,
Well, it kind of works.
at the bottom of your usernames should be a symbol.
Yeah. Cool. And then I'm going to reference socket.username now. So I've already set the username for the socket right here. And I'm going to reference that it's the same one as this one, but I'm just showing you that now I can reference it through the socket instead of through that variable username. And then this is some socket code here, so I didn't write this. This comes built into socket. I want to create a channel in socket or a room in socket or in socket.io. And in order to do that, you just join it. You don't need to initialize it or anything. You just need to have people joining rooms with the same names. So our room is called room 1. That's like our understanding of a chat room. But socket.io actually implements these things called rooms and channels and namespaces. And we're going to take advantage of what they call rooms here. And I'm going to pass it just the socket, just the socket's room. And so basically what's happening here is he's now joining another channel in my sockets, in in my socket.io variable instance. So whenever I communicate to everyone on the socket, I can communicate to everyone, or I can tell one channel I want to communicate with you guys only. So I can kind of control messages being passed forth. So if I send a message to everyone in my channel or my room, I can do that via making sure that I'm joined to it. And then we need to write some code. So who needs to know that I joined the room? I need to know that I joined the room, and everyone else in that room that's currently in there needs to know that I joined the room. So let's write those functions. Let's go ahead and leave outside of the socket.io thing. Let's go down here and do function update client, and we're going to write some code in here. And function update, I think I called it chat room. I'm referencing code that I wrote earlier this afternoon just so I don't screw up. And to update the client, I need a couple things. So I need a socket. I took in a username for some reason. I don't think I need it, but I took it in, and a new room. And to update the chat room, I just need the socket of the person that I want to update. Tell everyone in his room to update, and I also need the current room, which again I don't think I need that, but. Oh my goodness!
Bottom
What?
right-hand corner is a hotspot that like.
Oh, if you scroll to that, let me just move the mouse out of the way so I'm not doing that anymore. Okay, so here's some socket code for you. I'm about to socket, so I'm using the socket instance that I'm going to pass to this later, and I'm going to emit. This is going to take a message that the server has and send it to that particular client. I'm basically passing a message back to a person. So if John sends me a message, and I want to tell John something, I don't want to tell the rest of you this. I'm going to emit to John this message. So it's like a private message. And I'm just going to tell him to update his chat. And I'm going to tell him it's from the server. We're going to use this later. I want to use single quotes. Your Atom works a little bit differently than mine. And then so you can't use, so really quickly here, I'm just going to escape that character. You've connected to, gosh darn it. Trying to be smart here in this, okay, there we go. And then I'm just gonna say new room. So yeah, I didn't need the username. I'm not sure why I passed it in. I'm not gonna get rid of it yet, but we'll probably get rid of it in a second. Command save.
I think you have a space between your escape and the apostrophe.
Here?
Oh no, your colors are just weird.
Yeah, the color is just really strange. Yeah. Okay, so this is going to emit to the client when he's ready to, or whenever the server needs to update the client on something. Now we also need to update. When I join a room, I want to update everyone that's already in the room. So I'm just going to do that. So it's a little bit different. So you don't loop through everyone in the room or anything like that. What you do here to update the chat room is you get your instance of socket. So this is the client, and then I'm going to broadcast to everyone but him so broadcast to everyone but that person. So I'm not broadcasting to myself, and I'm going to broadcast this to the socket room. So the current room that he's in, and I'm going to emit to them, update your chat. So this is a command that I'm going to program on the client side to take in this, and it's going to take in who's doing it and what the message is. And the message is going to be socket.username. Oop, I want to go to a new line. Socket.username has, what in the world oh, this isn't supposed to take in current room. Sorry. I was reading my comment from earlier. This is supposed to take in a message. So I wrote this so that if I disconnect or I connect, I can use the same function. It's just allowing for code reusability later. And I don't know if that's going to actually work, so I should probably put that back up there on that line. I'm afraid that it's going to error at me, max and all.
Passing socket.
Yes, because these functions live outside of the socket functionality. Or the socket instance, I need to use it. Just make sure I'm calling the right thing here. I see it. Okay, yeah, we're good. Perfect. Okay, so now back up here to connection or to add user. When I add a user, I'm going to call socket.join, and now I want to tell the client that I've updated or that you've joined the room. So update client, pass it the socket, pass it his username, which, like I said, I don't know why I did that. And then pass it the room that he joined, which again, I don't know why I did that. I think I was originally not setting socket equal to username and room, and then I decided halfway through it would be smarter to do that, but it's fine. You guys are more than welcome to make adjustments later. Emit to the client that he's joined a room.
Should be update client, not update chat.
Thank you. Okay, and then I also need to update the chat room that I've joined, that I recently joined, to also update. And I'm just going to pass it the message. Remember that message I was talking about? So if I disconnected from a room, I would pass disconnected, and they would just tell everyone that I disconnected. I'm passing the word connected, so I'm telling everyone I disconnected. And then I want to also update, let me write this in the comments here to come back later and do. I want to add updating the room list. So on the side, if I'm in a room, I don't want that room list to be able to be joinable again. So later I'm going to take care of that. Right now I don't really care. And then let's go ahead and add the next functionality. So with a chat, the basic functionality is we want to send a message back and forth. So if the user or the client calls socket.sendChat, we're going to do the callback. This is going to take in a variable called data. For now, it's just the message, but later I could evolve that to being a bunch of data. It could be hex values for color, text, everything. Yes?
What's socket.on versus socket.emit?
So socket.on means I have, this has happened. It's a listener. So when the client says that he wants to do something, he emits a message to the server. And on that emission happening, on me getting the command send chat, do this thing. I'm going to do this thing. On the server side, or the client side and the server side are going to have a .emit function. That's me executing a command or sending a command off to the other side, whether it be the client sending it to the server or the server sending it to the client. Good question. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna send chat, and we're gonna do console.log. So this is just for me debugging later, because I know I'll probably break something. Socket.username plus sent a message, and then we're gonna actually send the message. So this one's a little bit different. This one I'm gonna call IO, our instance of IO, and I'm gonna call sockets.in. So in the room, the sockets room .emit, and then I'm going to update the chat. That's another, like we've been using that function the whole time, and then I'm going to give it its username, and I'm going to pass it the data. And like I said, the data right now is just the message. So the reason I'm using this io.sockets.emit or .in.emit is because when I send a message to the server, I don't want the message to just automatically pop up in my chat. I want to send it to the server and make sure it's approved before it pops up into the chat. So once I've gotten the message, I'll dispatch from the server side to everyone, including myself. So this sends to everyone and me. Does that make sense? So io.sockets.emit is going to send to everyone, including me. Socket.emit is going to send just to me, and socket.broadcast is going to send to everyone but me. And when I push this code to GitHub later, I'll make sure that that's like sort of understood in the README. Your tabs are like.
Once you push save, it'll.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I haven't done JavaScript in a while, so like it might not be configured as optimally as possible.
So not configured at all.
Yeah.
So we have two more functionalities that we need to program on the server side, and we're done. We need to switch rooms. We want to be able to switch rooms from one room to another room, and we want to disconnect. I'm going to program the disconnect really quickly. And so I get a command call. So this is a default command built into, I did not spell disconnect right. I spelled die-connect on my client, on my code. I hope it didn't magically work for some reason. Okay. So disconnect, and I'm gonna another callback. You guys should be getting used to these callback functions now. And what I want to do when I disconnect from a room, I want to delete the room, or delete the user, not delete the room. Sorry. So I'm gonna, from that array, I'm going to delete the socket.username, and I'm going to emit to everyone, including people not in my channel, to everyone that this person has disconnected, and I'm going to send them the new usernames list. So I'm sending them who's connected through this usernames.
Does that function take in a username?
Which function? Oh, you're talking about this update.
Never mind.
Yeah, this is a socket command that we're writing. It's a little bit different. I know there's a lot of update stuff going. The message that or the thing that, yeah, this thing down here are a little bit different than this one.
Okay.
So we haven't written one of one of the things that we need to do. We need to update everyone that the socket has officially disconnected. So we'll do that in a second. But the last step we need to do in the disconnect is socket.leave, and then we need to give it the room. So we initially joined the room. Now we're just leaving that room. And then I'm going to go down here and write one more function.
Socket.leave, socket.leave.
That makes more sense.
Thank you, guys. This is why I compile every 5 seconds while I'm writing code. Just like refresh. Okay, I want to update globally. So I want to tell everyone about stuff, not just me, or not just my room, and not just other rooms. I want to tell everyone at the same time. So socket.broadcast.emit, update chat. This is coming from the server. Oop, let's keep that server. And socket.username. So this will tell everyone but me that I have connected, or I have connected. I just realized I did. I has disconnected. I have I had that code running earlier and I didn't even notice that. Also, your delete button is a backspace button, not a delete button.
They give you function deleted or function backspace. It'll delete.
That's too many keys.
Yeah.
That's not as useful as delete. Yeah. And then so up here, I'm going to call that function I just wrote called update global, and I'm going to pass it to socket, and I'm going to pass it disconnected. Okay. I have code in here for switching rooms. I'm afraid we're running out of time. I want to move on to the client side really quickly. If something doesn't work because I don't have that, we'll come back really quick and add that. But I'm going to put a comment here. Switch room code goes here. We'll come back to that. So go to index.html. So in this little JavaScript, or in this script box here, normally you would separate your JavaScript code out of the index.html file, but I'm being hella lazy and also want to keep it as little or as uncomplex as possible. And so in here I need to write 4 functions technically. I need to connect. So we have our socket, right? This is us. This is the client. I have this, and I want to tell the server, or whenever I get a connect from the server, I want to run a function. These are those callbacks. So whenever the server has told me that I've connected, I want to add you. I want to tell them that I want to log in, and I'm going to use some, again, crappy JavaScript here because this wasn't a JavaScript tutorial, but I wanted to explain exactly what this is though before I let this go. Yeah, and I should use single quotes like I use everywhere else. Let me escape these. I can't tell if those are. I don't think I can use those in.
No, it's because you're in an HTML file, so it's not syntax highlighting the JavaScript like right.
Okay, but it is right
It's
though.
fine.
Yeah. F5, right? No.
Command R.
Just refresh. Okay. So really quickly, I'll explain that. So what I'm doing here is when I connect, so I'm connecting via this line here. That's all I'm doing. I'm just telling the server I'm ready to connect. The server is going to send me back a message, hey, you've actually connected. The server's going to send back connect. That's built-in socket IO stuff. What I want to do, I want to react when I get that from the server. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to admit to them that I want to add a user. And I'm going to ask the client, so on the client side, I'm going to just ask the client to pop up the client view to pop up a little text box to ask me to enter a name in. So that's all that did, and that's what you see here. And so whenever a prompt is written in a JavaScript code, it literally just opens up one of these little prompt windows. We're not doing anything with it. You said Command R. So we're not doing anything with it yet, but it's just I'm able to enter my name in, which will eventually become my username. Oh, God. We'll go back here. So we've now connected. And then I need to update the chat. So I want to update the chat, right? So down here, when the user connects, or when the user is typing in messages, they're going to type in messages and they're going to hit this button. All the messages are going to live in this data. We need to write a function that's ran that's going to capture that information whenever the player hits enter screen. We don't want that button to take us to a new page or anything. So I'm going to write some JavaScript or jQuery code, and I'm going to try and explain it as best as possible without going into too much detail. But just pretty much copy paste this. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing the field down below called data send. So it has an ID of data send. I'm going to grab that, and I want to grab its when it's been clicked. So anytime somebody's clicked it, I want to say var message. So I'm creating a new message here, equals the data that's inside that message. And data's here, so it's the input field that's right in front of it. So I'm going to grab the data field and grab its contents. So its contents are stored in a variable or a function called value. And then I'm going to clean out that value. I'm gonna just delete the information that was in there. Let me just I don't know how to copy paste on a Mac. So we need to write the same stuff, data dot val, and then we're just gonna, all we're doing is we're setting the value equal to nothing now. And I want to set focus back on that. So what happened, I noticed there was like a weird thing that was happening. When I hit enter, the focus was being taken off the input field. Well, when you're chatting you hit enter, you shouldn't have to take the mouse and redrag the mouse back to the input field to re-highlight it, refocus it, and so you can start typing. Well, that's what was happening. So this focus that I'm about to type in here is going to take care of that bug. Or not even a bug, but just that behavior. And then I'm going to emit to the server. So the client has pushed send message. I'm going to emit to the server send chat.
Is it dot focus?
It is dot focus. This way we're not like spending too much time debugging, have people watching me, and so we're going to pass it the message that I just got from that field. And then I'm going to do one other small function. Make sure I'm doing it in here. And I'm going to grab that data field again. And I don't want the player to have to hit use the mouse to select the send button. I want to be able to allow them to press the enter key. So on a key event, if the key event is 13, which don't ask me why, it's 10 in Java, it's 13 in JavaScript. It's different in every language, but the enter key is 13. Hopefully it's the same thing on Mac. This dot blur, and then we're going to select the box. We're going to select the send button, and so I'm going to hitting that hashtag key or ampersand or whatever you want to call it. Not ampersand. Octothorpe? Yeah, whatever. It's called an octothorpe. You learn something every new, guys. The hashtag is actually called an octothorpe. So what I'm going to do is, this is just saying when the user hits enter, remove focus from wherever he was at, and then put focus on the send key. Okay? Put focus on the send key. And then once I put focus on the send key, and I need to click focus, or I need to now focus, or no, put focus on the send key and then click it, and then I'm going to put focus back onto the input box. So I hit enter, it's going to click send, and then it's going to put me back in the input box. And here, does anybody need to see any more code? I'll scroll up for a second.
Wait, can you scroll? Holy shit.
Hopefully you all have everything above script, so I will let you guys copy that. Any questions? Yeah.
Do you have to focus again on the data field, or is by like programmatically clicking, is it going to call that function above it?
So above, the function above is on. Oh, that's actually a good question. No, it won't, because the reason it won't, because I've overloaded the function up here to take in this function. Oh, actually it does. Yeah.
So since you're focusing in there, you wouldn't have to.
I don't think it worked though. I don't. Yeah, I'll leave it. But I think when I was debugging it earlier, it didn't do it. But I think that you're right. I think that
I feel like it should.
it should. Well, that was the way it was written, but
It
it didn't work. So we'll leave. I'll comment it out for now, and we'll go and check it out. But actually, so let's go and start the server. We need to close the server from where we were at before. Control C. I don't know if anything's gonna work. We probably got a crap ton of errors, but so since Node restarted, we had a socket connection. Node told the clients, every client since I disconnected and reconnected, to reconnect to me. So it's telling the page to refresh. It's an automatic thing. So it automatically refreshed for me. I'm gonna connect. How do I open up the
Console?
Yeah.
Command Option J.
Command Option J. Control Shift or Control Alt J for everyone else, I think. And then I should type, if I pushed enter. Let me refresh the page actually. I know I just said what I said, but why is Angular not defined? What?
Yeah.
That's a Chrome extension that I have that I made.
Okay.
Socket.io/
Yeah, so it works.
JS is not defined.
It works. Huh?
Wait, can you go to your?
Sure. Yeah, so the click did work.
Oh, nice.
I don't know why it didn't work earlier. What are you wanting to see?
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting errors because my socket.io.js isn't defined.
Yeah, do you have the server running?
Yeah.
Do you have the index file in the same directory as the server?
Yeah. We can worry about it later.
Yeah. So yeah, to just make sure that you do for everyone, if anybody else is having, what are all these app.js's? So in chat.js, you have to make sure that your port's listening on 3000, and then when you go to localhost 3000, it's going to open up this index page, and then localhost 3000 /socket.io/socket.io.js is the file that it's going to grab. That file is created at runtime, so you actually can't physically see it. Yeah, okay, so we have the UI sort of things. You would do a lot more with this UI and make it much prettier and all that stuff, but let's actually get messages sent back and forth now. So now that I have the functionality of being able to click the box, let me show you again just in case, where I type in a message, hello, and I click enter. I go back to the console. That message should have came through. Undefined sent a message. So we haven't sent the user yet, but once we send the user, that should work. I was worried that the user hasn't been sent actually.
Where do you print that out? The blank sent a message?
Yeah, so socket.username sent a message. Make sure you guys didn't miss a bug when I was programming. Whoa, this mouse, how do you do with this touchpad being so sensitive?
I guess I'm used to it.
Oh, no, sorry, it's not.
Well, maybe the mouse is more sensitive. I don't know.
Yeah, so basically this is being printed out. I'm not sure why it's not storing the username yet, but we will figure that out as we go.
When do you call or store the username?
When do I call what?
When do you store the username?
Right here. So socket.username equals username.
Like, try to print it before you assign it and see if
Sure.
it's your name.
Sure. Oh, before I sign
I
it.
guess it doesn't matter, but I was just going to say to print just the username.
Your poor tabs are just all messed
Yeah,
up on the...
it's messed up.
And then we'll run it. So we need to go and close it. This is where, like I said, node monitor comes in
Can you
handy.
use it like it's installed globally, so can't you use it?
I can try, but it won't work for everyone here.
Yeah. Just for our sake.
Okay. So it's running. It's watching a file. You guys are going to have to restart every time.
You have to refresh the browser.
Yeah, I'm going to refresh the browser. That message didn't come in at all. Add user. Oh. Oh, wait, what? Oh, sorry. This is my fault. So we have a bug in the very beginning. Wow. This might have been why you asked what .emit, the difference between .emit was. This should be on. When the user connects, when a user sends an add user connection string, I should connect. I'm sorry, guys. So let me the server restarted automatically. I don't trust that actually refreshed. So let me refresh. And then go over here. Open up this. Oh yeah, Josh has logged has logged in. Is anybody stuck? Everybody kind of following still?
So your node server's running?
Yes.
How do you get out of?
Out of what?
Okay, it just like randomly like picks up everything and like spreads it out for me. I don't want
You gotta
that.
swipe with 3 fingers up to do that.
Oh, so when I accidentally touch with all 3 fingers when I'm being
It's like alt tab, but better.
yeah. Okay.
So the socket dot on.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the client side, and we need to program 2 more functionalities. We need to update the chat and update the rooms. The big thing is updating the chat. So in order to accept chat messages from everybody, we're going to do that. Socket. So we programmed all the hard code now. We just need to do the HTML editing. This is where like Stack Overflow really comes in handy because updating the DOM and making sure you can grab things using jQuery and stuff like that can always be fun. I have all the code here for that, and if you have questions, I can explain each individual line or each line. There's not much, but it's similar to what I did before. I'm gonna grab the box that has the conversation, not the container, but the conversation in it. So this is the main box, and then I'm gonna pin to it this text format. So this is HTML. I'm gonna do bold plus the username. Do this fancy little colon thing so it looks like they're the ones typing, / bold space plus the data. And then the data is the message that the server sent to the client to print to the screen, and that's it.
Is conversation an ID?
Yeah, we'll go down and I'll look at that. So conversation is the main conversation container is that second box, the main box to the left, to the right. Conversation is the box that lives above the input box. There's nothing in there right now, but as I start adding stuff to it, things will start appearing to it. And as a matter of fact, I think if I go now and refresh this page, or not. Okay, I think we need to do one more thing before we do that. But let's check to see if that message came in, just to make sure. God, the swiping is awful. Okay, yeah, so Josh sent a message, Josh is logged, Josh sent a message. And then right here, update chat. Okay, it looks like I'm doing everything. Sorry, I just want to make sure I didn't forget anything. Let me go look at my update chat message or command in the socket. Make sure that we actually have that coming in right. Oh, it's called send chat here. Did we do that? Did we call that up?
Yep. Emit update chat here.
So are you running
io.sockets.in.emit update chat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's called update chat there, but did I call it send chat down here? Yeah, okay, just making sure. Okay, it should be sending the chat back and forth. We'll console.log really quickly here. This is in the client side. Gonna console.log the data that I get just to make sure that I'm getting it. Command save. Oh, you know what? I don't think I command save. I think I've been control saving. Yeah. So you've connected to the room. Hello. Hi. How are you? Okay.
Open another Chrome window.
I don't think we're that fancy yet, but we will see. I think I have to switch rooms yet, but I might not have to. So let's call this Tammy. Tammy, I'm Tammy. Looking for friends.
Oh God.
Oh, Tammy's talking. Hey, Tammy.
Ask her ASL.
What's your age, sex, location? I speak American Sign Language. 2. Okay. Okay, so we have a basic chat working. So the only functionality which we have left to do, which I can probably do in like 5 minutes, is everybody up to speed with this? Does everybody understand what happened? Are we missing stuff? Ask me questions. I could probably help. Who's it? Is it Takashi? Is it you? Is everyone not? Does anybody have this working on their computer yet? Wow. Okay.
Is there a way to commit it?
Yes, I can commit right now, actually, if y'all want.
Because I know I missed something random. So.
Yeah, and it would be, yeah. Command C, git, add all these wonderful files. Oop. Oh, wow, your console was slow there for a minute. What? Oh. Give me 1 second, guys. So we need a get ignore file. Get touch dot get ignore.
Does touch just create?
Yeah, it creates it. It works in Windows. It works in everything. So in Windows, you can't create dot files like out of the box. You have to like use some sort of command. And I found that touch just allows you to do it. So it's
You on Windows too?
yeah, Windows too.
Nice.
So what do I want to ignore here? I want to ignore everything in my node modules folder.
Can you do that with Echo?
What?
Like create a dot file?
I'm sure you can.
Echo like print stuff, right?
No, you can echo like into a file and it like write stuff into a file.
Oh, really?
That's how I've done it before.
That's
You
why
get,
I
like,
append.
Echo and then like that and it just like puts that like
Yeah.
adds that into the file.
So did it remove all those node module folders?
They already committed it, it's gonna be there.
Oh no!
Oh,
There's a way to.
Force push that.
Yeah.
wait, so
I mean, if you push that when people pull, they're just not gonna get them, right?
Oh, okay, yeah, that's
Or will
true.
they notice ignore differences? Wait, I don't know.
Oh yeah, that here, guys, don't accept that yet.
I'm not even getting the join chat or anything.
Deleted the dependencies. Okay, you guys can pull now. And make sure when you pull that you do npm install or it might not work if you pull to a new folder. Okay. So really quickly, I just want to show you guys what it looks like to switch rooms. I'm just going to write the code really fast. And by fast, I mean probably miss something. So if you notice something, just yell at me. I know Alex will. So to switch rooms, I want to take in a new room. I want to leave my current room. I want to join the new room. And thank you. And then I want to update the client with that. I have a function that I can do that with, so I'm going to pass it the socket username, which again, I don't know why I did that in the beginning, but I thought it was important, so you should too. Yeah, your Atom is like all sorts of
Yeah,
not
there's
helpful
some
today.
packages in there and stuff that
Yeah.
aren't configured properly.
So I'm going to tell everyone that I disconnected from their chat. I'm going to socket.room equals new room. And, oop. I caught one of my own bugs before one of you told me about it. Update chat room. Socket dot. I know I'm going really fast. You guys can just get this code later. I just want to show you how it works. Connected. So I'm telling everyone in the new room that I've connected. This is why I wrote this function over and over again. And now I need to write a function called update room list, which is going to take in a socket and take in the socket.room. Again, I don't know why I did that, but go down here really quickly. Function, not dunction, function. Update room list. It's going to take in a socket and a room. Didn't I say that? Socket and a room. It should be the current room. Oh, geez. What in the world? Your Atom thinks it's smarter than it really is. And then I'm going to broadcast to that room. Or broadcast a room list, sorry. No, I'm going to admit to myself that I've updated the room. And this should be rooms. So I'm going to send the user all of the rooms, but I'm going to tell him which room that he's a part of. So that's all that is right there. And then just make sure I didn't use that anywhere else. Control fine. Update chat room. Oh wait, is it called update chat room? What did I call it? Update room list? Okay, and so when I join, go back up here to when you joined a room, and if you're following along, that is, so no one, where I had that to-do list, I'm going to do update room list, and I'm just going to pass it the socket, and the socket.room. And then this is the last bit of code for the server side. I'm going to save, oh, we got an error. What's all that? Unexpected identifier. Wow, your thing actually gave me an error. Anybody see it?
It's hard to see when you move.
Smartass. I missed a semicolon where?
Line 21.
21? Wait, I don't think I need semicolons though.
Yeah, you don't need them.
You can take it out.
Just look at your list.
Oh, I see this. I've never seen. Line 60.
Something's wrong with this.
Yeah, I forgot when I switched rooms. I forgot to close the callback.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. Okay, I mean, well, it was a big deal because it would have killed us. But and then all I need to do now on the client side is just say, hey, when you get an update room, just update the room. This is the biggest function here, but it does pretty much simple things. You can look at this code later. It's mainly editing the DOM, which it's going to take in the rooms, take in the current room, and then it's going to grab the room's HTML page. And it's going to empty it. It's going to delete everything that's already there. Right now there's nothing there. And then I'm going to use an each loop, which is a cool jQuery thing that's just going to loop through all of the things in this array. And it's going to, for key value, it's going to grab the key and the value. And if the value is equal to the current room, we're using double equal or triple equal sign here because we're doing object, like we're making sure that the strings are actually equal to each other. It's really interesting, actually. I don't actually know the full reason behind that, but
I did at one point, but I forgot.
I looked it up. I've looked it up a bunch of times, and I forget every time too. I'm gonna add a new HTML element to the screen. and with a value. And I'm going to close the div. Sorry guys, this took longer than I thought it would. And then if it's not the room, then I want to be able to join all the other rooms. So all that's doing right there is that's printing out the room that I'm in. It's not allowing it to be a link, but all the other ones are going to be a link. So dot append, and then this is where I'm going to write div a href going to nowhere. So I'm using the hashtag or polyglot thing or whatever. What is it again? I don't know. Octothorpe, yeah. What's a polyglot? Isn't that something else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Polyglot? Polyglot?
I'm going to pass it a string plus the value. And I have to escape those quotes.
Several languages, that's what it is. They were all
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to keep up with me typing this, but you'll get it later. I just want to show it working. All right. Well, hopefully this compiles. All right, let's go here, refresh this page. Oh, I need to restart the server. How do I get back to the server? Oh God, it would just been easier for me to type in nodemon.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, so I just restarted the server, and then click refresh. Josh. Why did it let me connect to the same room? That was weird. I don't think the page actually refreshed. I think it was I think we created another bug.
Yeah. We're bug chasing.
Yeah. Anyways, the chat worked. The basic the basic functionality for the rooms will be pushed tonight, and I'll make sure that it's well coded for you to understand, because I want you guys to try and having a user list on the other side of the thing. It'll kind of give you, that's kind of how I learned how to use Socket.io, and that's kind of what threw me over like that sort of wall of not understanding and understanding. So all the code that we push tonight, you can clone it, and it'll all be 100% have 100% functionality, and like all of my code here has like almost a line on every a comment on every line, so you'll be able to understand everything that's going on. We had a working chat. I can't go back to it to show you the working chat, but I don't want to spend too much more of your time. We're like already over by 15 minutes. So thank you guys for coming, and I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. We haven't decided the tutorial for the next meeting in 2 weeks, so if you guys have suggestions, feel free to message your new president and me, the current president, still until the end of the semester. Yeah, until the end of the semester. We're gonna work together and try and create a good tutorial for the next one. Hopefully leave here with something cool at the next meeting. We want to try and reach out to all the freshmen to let them know that we're here, so next year when they come back, they can stay highly involved and do a bunch of stuff. So make sure you guys show up for the next meeting. Thanks for coming. Thanks for eating the pizza too.
Yeah.